Sony hasn't had the best of luck lately in their Spider-Man-less film universe. But how did Kraven the Hunter turn out? Well, let's talk about it. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion for my Kraven the Hunter movie review. And if this is your first time finding me, and you happen to like the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. All right, guys, now we have Kraven the Hunter, a film that I was not looking forward to. I mean, I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, but when you don't have Spider-Man and Spider-Man films, it just feels kind of weird. And like I said in my intro, the last few films from Sony to have to deal with this universe of theirs haven't been the greatest. Now, this is being directed by Mr. J.C. Chandler. This is what the gentleman looks like right here. And if we scroll down and look at his filmography, he was a part of Triple Frontier that came out in 2019 and also A Most Violent Year. I have Triple Frontier right here, and this does look familiar. I can't remember if I saw this or not. I think I did, and I think it was a pretty decent movie. I just don't remember. Also, I think I saw A Most Violent Year, and I think that was pretty good too. I just don't remember right now off the top of my head. But if you've seen any of these films, please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and if you are a fan of Mr. J.C. Chandler. Now, when it comes to my expectations for this film, like I said, they were extremely low, but I do like Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he's a phenomenal actor. Pretty much everything that I've seen him in has been pretty good. I don't think I've just been like, oh my gosh, that was just a horrible job. That was just a horrible role. I mean, I am a fan of this gentleman right here who is playing the titular character of Kraven. And yeah, when we scroll down and just look at his filmography, The Fall Guy, Nosferatu, I did not see this, I probably won't, but Bullet Train was pretty good. I did like that. Tenet, I did like Tenet also. I enjoyed him in Age of Ultron. I also liked him in Godzilla, Captain America, Civil War, even though that was just a brief cameo, but I really did like him a ton in Kick-Ass. Not Kick-Ass 2, that movie was extremely disappointing, but Kick-Ass 2010, that's still in the top 10 best comic book movies of all time. Seriously, if you haven't seen Kick-Ass, you need to get on that for real, for real. But I am a fan of Aaron Taylor Johnson. Y'all let me know in the comments if y'all are too. So I wasn't expecting much, but before I get into all the nitty gritty, before I talk about all my likes and dislikes, let me tell you exactly what this film Kraven is all about. Kraven's complex relationship with his ruthless father, Nikolai Kravenov, starts him down a path of vengeance with brutal consequences, motivating him to become not only the greatest hunter in the world, but also one of its most feared. All right, guys, so the first thing that I liked about this film is Kraven, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. Everything about his character, for the most part in this film, was entertaining. I always like to see characters understand and discover their powers. They're playing around with all their abilities and see what they can and cannot do. I did appreciate that part of the film as well. And it was just a part, and I will come back to that. Also with Sony and their marketing, they did release the first 8 minutes of this film online for anyone to view for free. I did not check that out. I wanted to wait until I saw it in the theaters. And if you did check it out online, the first 8 minutes of the film aren't that bad. I was just saying to myself, okay, if we can keep this consistent tone throughout the entire film, it may not be the best blockbuster of 2024 or the best comic book movie, but I don't think that's his goal. Is just trying to be decent at the very least. And I will say, yeah, it would have been decent if we would have kept that tone from the first 8 minutes. It flowed quite nice. It was a good display of powers and abilities from Kraven. It was just trying to set that tone of what the film would be for the duration. And also Aaron Taylor Johnson does look the part. He has the abs, he has the build, he has that structure. He looks like a hunter. He looks like he will bite your face off if you get in his way. And this is also the first R-rated film produced by Sony as far as comic book titles are concerned. I thought it was pretty decent. It was not necessary, but also just given the lore, there is nothing wrong with a little bit of blood and guts here and there. There wasn't any scene that made me just squeamish and want to turn my head in disgust. But at the same time, I was asking myself, okay, could this film have survived if it was PG-13? And I think it's for its benefit that it is R, just given the source material and the way that the film is made and the story that they're trying to tell. And so it's a success there. And I wanted to bring that up because I feel that sometimes films go the R rating route just because they're trying to be edgy and just like, hey guys, look at us, we're cool. cool over here. We have a bunch of blood, or we're dropping F-bombs. And sometimes that just doesn't work and doesn't make your film more cool. It can make it more corny, but that's not the case here. And what I also liked about his character is, just like when an animal is trying to hunt someone down, they're very, very quiet, calm, and try to sneak up on their prey. That's the same thing here. Aaron Taylor Johnson's Kraven is very calm. He doesn't go around boasting, bragging, or talking crap. You know, he just shows up on a location, keeps his tone of voice very, very low, and then just pounces on his enemy. So I do appreciate that and how they kind of tied that in with realistic animals that do go on the hunt. And the man is very tenacious, very ambitious. He is not giving up, especially when he is trying to save a loved one. I was just like, man, this guy here will take a beating. And how much of a beating can he take? He is quite strong. Maybe, well, no, I don't want to say as strong as Spider-Man, but I can definitely tell why he is a villain in Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery. That would be an interesting contest. I would love to see Kraven and Spider-Man fight one day. And when I was watching this, I was just like, it would be nice to see them go at it, to see who will come out on top. I really don't even know how many times Spider-Man would win or lose if they fought 10 times. We can talk about that in the comment section. But for the most part, I did like the character Kraven. I think they did a pretty decent job. And I liked the way they nodded to comic book fans towards the end of the film, just to give you those images that a lot of people grew up with from the source material, from the lore, from the comics, animation, etc. But guys, those are gonna be the things that I really did like about the film. Now let me transition to some things that just really did not work out for me. And one is the characters and me not caring for them at all. I was not able to sympathize or empathize with the characters at all in this film. And that's a shame, because we're supposed to root for them. There was a group of characters to where they lost their mother in this film, and I just didn't care. It just really didn't matter to me. There was another character to where his loved one was kidnapped. I didn't care whether they saved him or not. It really didn't make a difference to me. There was another character in this film that had an abusive relationship with their father. I didn't feel bad for the victim. I just didn't care. It just didn't do anything for me. The film did not present anything for me just to be like, oh my gosh, I hope this character does get justice. This is just not fair. Why are they going through this? I felt that way for no one in this movie whatsoever. I also thought the CGI in this movie was absolutely awful. To me, it just doesn't make sense that it's 2024 and we have all these shots, we have all these images. It seemed like it came out in 1982. It just doesn't make any sense to me. None of the animals look real, whether it was a lion, tiger, cheetah, leopard, or some other type of metahuman or mutate that was transforming into their comic book character that we all know and love. I don't think this is a spoiler, but we'll just go ahead and say that the Rhino is in this movie. Man, they just keep dropping the ball with Rhino. Wow, it just looked awful. They did a horrible job in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, directed by Mark Webb. Wouldn't that come out like 2015? It was very forgettable with Andrew Garfield. We all remember that name. Of course, you had Paul Giamatti in a robotic suit as Rhino in that film, and that didn't work. And Rhino did not work in this film either. The CGI was just trash, and they should be ashamed of themselves. And it's not just the Rhino in this movie or the cheetah, lion, or leopard. There's other aspects that just have bad CGI as well, and it just doesn't make any sense to me, and it's really disappointing. I'm also not a fan of the way that Kraven got his powers. That was just so random and convenient. But to be fair, or at least try to be, or play devil's advocate, while I was watching this movie and they was going through these scenes discovering the powers, or the origins of them, I was saying to myself, okay, how did Spider-Man get his powers? He was bit by a radioactive spider. How did Captain America get his powers? It was a serum that was created in a lab. And I was saying, okay, are any of those origin stories ridiculous? I was saying no, they actually just had a great story and structure to it. I don't feel that way with how Kraven got his powers in this film. It was just way too convenient and random and didn't have that much backstory to support it. I'm not saying that we needed a 500-page book of the lore to hold it up as a pillar, but I was just saying to myself, okay, this just seems a bit silly and convenient. I wish they would have fleshed this out a little bit more, but they didn't. Now, while I did praise the first 8 minutes of this movie, saying that it was pretty entertaining, right after that, we had a time jump, time skip going back and forth in time. And that was very, very long, just trying to help us get to know the characters throughout this film, but my goodness, it was boring as hell. The only thing I liked about it was the discovery of Kraven's powers, but other than that, I was like, my gosh, can we please fast forward? I kept shifting back and forth in my seat with the wait, and it was just very, very uninteresting. Again, I just didn't empathize or sympathize with any of the characters, unfortunately. We also have another supporting character in this film by the name of Calypso, who is popular from the comics. I'm not an expert as far as the character is concerned, but one thing that was annoying is the constant name dropping of Calypso, Calypso, Calypso. It was very obvious that they were trying to get you to know that name, like, hey, this is a character from the comics. I bet you're gonna Google her after you watch this film. And I didn't do any Googling other than trying to do some research for this, but I guarantee you won't. I just wanted to be a bit more subtle, but it wasn't. They were just like, hey, look at our comic book character over here. Aren't we cool? And the last thing I really didn't like about this film are the villains. Woo, they are extremely weak. One of them, I don't even understand their powers or how they were coming out on top or seizing the day. They just started counting and then all of a sudden they win the fight. A little bit more to it than that, but I don't know who they are, what their powers are or anything, or even why they were in the film. That just doesn't really add up to me as well. And just the motivation from the villains too, man, it's just really non-existent. I wanted somebody a bit more nefarious in this film than what the villains were going around doing. It just was extremely weak. I also don't understand why Russell Crowe was in this film. Yeah, okay, he needed a check. They probably came to him, hey, we have a role for you. I don't know, but when you have great actors as such, and then he's in films like this with a bad accent, it's just really draining and just like, my goodness gracious, like why? Who are the writers for this film? And so Russell Crowe's performance was not the best with his poor accent. Also, the villains just were extremely weak. The ending of this film involving them was very, very anticlimactic. And the plot behind them, their reason to exist, the goal that they were trying to accomplish was a bit laughable. It just kind of made it seem like this whole movie wasn't necessary, or at least some of the characters. I'm saying to myself, okay, if you can do this and you can do that and this person over here can do this, why do y'all need all of this right here? Just take a beeline straight to your target and execute. But all of this other stuff that you're trying to do is just completely unnecessary. But weak story, weak villains, it just wasn't fulfilling. Now, I will say that this movie is better than Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. It is better than Morbius, and it is better than Madam Web. It is also better than Venom 3, and I gave that movie a 4.5 out of 10. And so it's not better than Venom 1. And this movie is not trash, it's not garbage, but at the same time, it's just not good either. You know, I said in my short out of theater reaction that the movie is just not that bad, but it really is. Only thing I liked about this was Kraven, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. Everything else was a miss for me, unfortunately. So I will give my rating for this at the very end, but for now, guys, that is just my opinion, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy this film review, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I would love to reach 75,000 subscribers someday, but that's a long way around the corner. But if I had to rate Kraven the Hunter out of a 1 out of 10, what would I give this film? While there was a lot of bad in it, it was still slightly entertaining. Oh, I think I don't know, I'm dancing between a 5.5 and a 6, a 5.5 and a 6, but I think I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Yes, a 6 out of 10. Because while it was boring at the very beginning, after that 8-minute intro, it got progressively better. It did. And so I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Yes, a 6 out of 10. But guys, again, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Keith Avery, and that's just my opinion. Peace.